Good morning, Father's Home. I am just so sorry that I can't be with you in person today. That would have been the best thing, and I'm sure we're all really missing meeting together at this moment in time. But how great is it that technology can draw us together today? My name is Amy Summerfield and I work for Skylark International as the Head of Development, and it's such a joy to be able to bring this message today. We send our love and we send our greetings, and we can't wait to be with you soon. You know, Father's Home, it's just been a joy to watch all the things that you've been doing before lockdown and in lockdown, and how you've been a bright and vibrant and proactive church in this season that has been difficult and has been weary for many of us. I commend you, Vince and Ingrid, and many others of you guys who are doing tremendous effort on behalf of the kingdom, and thank you for everything that you're doing in the beautiful city of Wolverhampton. Today I just want to bring you a short message, and that short message is on a phrase that my dad used to say quite often when we were younger, and I'm sure Mum said it as well, and that was the Derbyshire phrase of wind your neck in, wind your neck in. I wonder if you've ever heard that phrase before, but in essence what wind your neck means, what wind your neck in means is keep your nose out of that business, don't get involved. If you're getting more too high rate, or if you're getting annoyed about something, you know, you should wind your neck in. And of course the opposite of that is wind your neck out. And so I got thinking about these two phrases and thinking about how for every single one of us there's moments in our life where we need to put our neck on the line. We need to stick our neck out for a purpose and for a cause. We need to advocate for justice, etc. And then there's times where rightfully we need to wind our neck in as well. You know, interestingly, all of this is about extending our reach, isn't it? It's extending our reach for ourselves to get to know God more, and it's to extending our reach for others to be able to draw others into the love of God and the grace that only Jesus can offer us. You know, the phrase stick your neck out interestingly came from when, it's a bit gross really, when chickens would be beheaded and ready to be sold, and the butchers would put pressure to a certain part of the neck of the chicken, and that would essentially make them stick their neck out, and then that kind of moment would happen of sticking your neck out. That's where that phrase putting your neck on the line came. And then of course there's this other wonderful quote that says, behold the turtle who only makes progress when he or she sticks their neck out. So I wonder, what makes you wind your neck in? What makes you recluse and say, I can't be part of that, I'm not brave enough, I don't feel like I can be involved, and sometimes rightfully things and times when you shouldn't be involved. But what causes make you want to wind your neck out? You know, ultimately for every single one of us, there are spaces and places that God needs us to be. He wants the salt and he wants the light and the difference that we carry to make a difference in God's world. And there are times along the way where pride robs us of kingdom opportunities, and where fear robs us of faith-filled opportunities that God is asking us to stick our neck out, put our neck on the line for. And you look all the way through the Bible and you just see countless story after story after story of faithful men and women who put their neck on the line for the sake of us and for the sake of many. Jesus obviously being the most paramount example to that he himself, God's Son, died for us, that stood in the gap for us so that you and I could receive that grace and we could receive the Father's love. But you look at all sorts of stories, like you know, the whole kind of relational understanding of Jonathan and David, and how Jonathan so respected and admired David's leadership that he literally went above and beyond. David's mighty men, his chosen men that would have done anything for him. Daniel, who stuck his neck out and who resolved in prayer and resolved in such an authentic, intimate relationship with God that led to almost his death, yet still he stuck his neck out and was determined to pursue God at all costs. Mary, of course, the mother who carried Jesus and would have been open to such scrutiny and such judgment, but yet she held on to the plans and purposes of God for her life, and as a result carried Jesus so well and so faithfully. You know, so many other stories about, you know, the widow's mite who faithfully just brought what she had and then saw that multiplied as a result of her sticking her neck out, not holding herself back, but actually extending what she had in faith that actually God God could multiply that. You know, incredible stories like the 4 men who faithfully carried their friend to Jesus, not knowing how the story would turn out, but somehow just believing in faith that one touch from Jesus, one moment with Jesus could change the experience and change the circumstance of their friend. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, who stood in the fire and then saw the presence of God with them. Ruth, who faithfully followed as a companion alongside Naomi, not knowing what life would look like, not knowing if that would be a mistake, but did what was right and resolved within her heart to stick her neck out for the sake of Naomi, and as a result found herself in the line of Jesus himself. The boy with just some simple loaves and fishes who stuck his neck out and dared to say to Jesus, I've got this, could this be of any use? And then once again saw great things happen. And of course Jesus too, who is our prime example and our prime teacher about what it looks like for us to be bold, to be brave, and to people that love always and love everyone. So how are we called to stick our neck out? How are we called to pick up our cross and to deny ourselves and to leave behind the giant of fear, to leave behind the giant of comparison and step out into the unknown anyway? Recently I've been rereading this book. It's a book from Bob Goff and it talks about everybody always. And the premise all the way through the book is basically about becoming love and basically about being able to be a person that extends our reach, extends our love and extends our heart to everyone, just as Jesus did. And there's a part in the book that really jumped out to me today and that especially made me think about you guys over there at Father's Home. And Bob basically talks in the book about this idea about kingdoms and castles. And he says this, he says, Jesus told his friends that we weren't supposed to spend our lives building castles. He said he wanted us to build a kingdom. And there's a big difference between building a castle and building a kingdom. You see, castles have moats and they keep people out. But kingdoms have bridges and they let everybody in. Castles have dungeons for people who have messed up, but kingdoms have spaces for grace. And there's one thing that castles have, trolls, and you've probably met a couple, but trolls aren't bad people. They're just people that don't really understand. And here's the deal. It's how we treat the trolls in our lives that will let us know how far along we are in our faith. And if we want kingdom, then we start the way that Grace did, by drawing a circle around everyone and saying they are in. Kingdoms are built from the people up. There's no set of plans, just Jesus. Now, I don't know about you, but I just find that deeply inspiring and deeply challenging. That here within our home of the Father's Home, but also within our home of Christianity, we are called to build kingdoms, not castles. We're called to stick our neck out and extend our reach for the poor, the oppressed, the lonely, the people that have done things that we would think are unforgivable, the people that have done things that we really struggle to get alongside with, the people that we think, oh my gosh, that is just not even how we would work and how we would operate. You know, Jesus has a love and a care for everyone. And for too long, the Christian church in general has built in a castle mentality, not a kingdom mentality. We've decided who's in or out. We've decided who's acceptable to Jesus or not. And that is not what God wanted for us. And all the way through the Bible, you see these grace-filled people that are willing to operate in kingdom mentality rather than castle mentality. And that's what gets them far. You know, Bob goes on all the way through this book to talk about how loving your neighbours will take a great amount of work, humility and patience and guts. It means leaving the security of the easy relationships to engage in some tremendously awkward ones. And finding a way to love difficult people more will be like living like Jesus did and living like Jesus talked about. You know, that's where we're going as a church. And that's where God is asking us to stick our neck out. Is it difficult to love people? Sadly, yes, it is. Is it difficult for us to extend our reach and leave behind the easy security and the comfort of what we know, and then extend our reach for the harder relationships that look a little bit awkward? It's not easy and it will be tough, but that is the church, and that is the type of Christians that Jesus is calling us to be more like. To extend our reach on behalf of others so that they could have an encounter with Jesus that would change them forever. And so when we come back to this analogy of sticking our neck out, why? Why does God want us to stick our neck out? Well, I believe, church, it's for two reasons. The first is to extend our reach for ourselves, that we would stick our neck out so that we could know God more intimately and so that he could work in and through us. You know, I think about the woman in Luke 8, verse 40. This was a woman who was called the woman who had an issue with blood. She was bleeding for 12 years. Now, as a result of her condition, she was ostracised. She was placed on the margins of society. No one considered her worthy. No one considered her to be anyone of any importance. They considered her dirty, the least of the least, and the worst of the worst. Yet here within this encounter in Luke 8, you see this incredible moment where the swarms of people all wanting to be in and around Jesus' feet, wanting to have moments with her. And somewhere out of nowhere, she musters up the courage and the boldness and fights the fear to come out of the margins of society where she would have been placed because of her condition and move into the middle of this community to extend her reach to Jesus. And those of us that will know the story, that this is what happens. As she works her way through the crowd, I can imagine that there's mutterings and judgment and condemnation over her because many would have known who she was. And as she gets closer to Jesus, she does a bold and very daring thing. She sticks her neck out, and what she does, she reaches out and she touches the hem of Jesus's garment. And instantly Jesus felt that power come out of him. And he turned around and he said, "Who touched me? Who touched me?" Not in an accusational way, but in a way that I can imagine that was just full of love, full of grace and full of acceptance. So she boldly manages to say, "Actually, it was me who touched you, Jesus." And there and then he looks at her and has a beautiful encounter with her that says, "Your faith has made you well." And he actually goes on to turn around to everyone else and says, "You know, I wish you all had the faith that she had." She stuck her neck out. She put her neck on the line that day so she could have a rich encounter with Jesus that changed her and her circumstances forever. And guess what? It would have changed that of those who witnessed that too. Her approach to Jesus, her faith to Jesus, not only changed her understanding, but everybody else's too. God wants us to stick our neck out for him. Why? Not just so we can see his kingdom enlarged, and we'll come on to that in a moment. Not just so that our gifts and our talents and other people could grow to know the great love that we hopefully know, those of us that are watching of Jesus. And once again, we'll come on to that in a moment. But why? Why first does he want us to stick our neck out? So that we can have encounters with Christ that will radically change us from the inside out. That whatever circumstances, whether that be physical or mental, whether that be emotional or trauma or pain from the past, that we would dare to stick our neck out, that we dare to believe beyond belief that actually nothing is impossible for Jesus. And as we extend our reach to Jesus, as we are like that turtle that sticks our neck out and only gets somewhere if we're actually prepared to make that physical stance or that emotional, spiritual change, we can see a difference too. Church, let me encourage you today to be a person that extends your reach to Jesus today, that sticks your neck out on the line and develops habits and spaces and places that will see you grow to a better relationship, a more authentic relationship, a deeper and a richer relationship with Jesus. Extend your reach on behalf of yourself to know Jesus more. That is for your own benefit, but then from that place, that will enable you to love everybody always. You know, why do we have this castle mentality within sometimes our churches, sadly, and within sometimes our world? Why is it that we have this in and out culture? Why is it that we decide who actually measures up to God or not? it's often because of our own fear. It's often because of our own mistakes. It's often because of our own judgment. It's often because of our own understanding and our own experiences. But within the love of God, everybody is in always. And if we can catch on to that with our own extended moment of actually recognizing that as we put our neck on the line, it will not be chopped off. That all of our sin, all of our shame, all of our past experiences, whatever's been done to us or whatever we have done to others is accepted by the grace of Jesus. If we can get a grasp of that, not only will it free us, but it'll allow us to have a kingdom mentality as opposed to a castle mentality. So this woman is taken from the margins of society and the margins of community, and then she comes into the centre of community to have this brilliant and beautiful encounter with Jesus. So extend your reach on behalf of yourself, but secondly, as we learn to love everybody always and love ourselves under the grace of God himself, we then need to extend our reach for others. And a great example of this is found in Matthew 8 verse 5. And that's about the faith of the Roman soldier. And so for many of us that might know this story, basically how it goes is that this Roman soldier approaches Jesus once again, extends his faith. You know, he had pride because of his position. You know, Jews were not popular, and he sided with Jesus in this moment. He was a military man and he understood power and authority, but there in that moment he stuck his neck out and he took a risk that Jesus could make a difference in his circumstance. Well, what was his circumstance? That his servant was actually ill at home. He wasn't even in the same geographical space of Jesus. And the faith of the Roman soldier that day in Matthew 8 verse 5 goes on to tell us that as he approached Jesus, he explained that his servant was ill. He said to Jesus, if only you could just say, when Jesus said, take me to him, he said, just say the words and he'll be healed. Now Jesus was astounded. He was absolutely astounded by the faith of this man. But that's what happened. The faith of this Roman soldier, as he extended his reach, as he extended and put his neck out for the sake of his servant, saw his servant healed and saw his servant well as a result of the miraculous provision of Jesus. This is an incredible moment. It's a beautiful moment that shows us that if we are prepared to push past our pride, if we are prepared to push past our own fear, our own insecurity, even on this case, what would have happened to him with his profession, with his job, with his role, what it would look like for him to have sided with Jesus, none of that in that moment seemed to matter to this Roman soldier, but only what was the circumstance of his suffering servant. You know, if we could get that mentality to lay down our own rights, to lay down our own wants, to lay down our own desires, and then see the love of God work on behalf of the poor, the oppressed, the marginalised, and those that need Jesus, gosh, what a world we could live in. You know, God is looking to build his church. He's looking to use people that are willing to stick their neck out, that are willing to get over themselves and make a difference. There's this brilliant quote from Zig Ziglar that says this: you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. Let me say that again. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. And I love this quote because it releases us. It gives us permission that we don't have to have all the skills. We don't even have to have all the faith. Jesus himself goes on to say just as small as a mustard seed is all that's required. We don't have to be great to start in this adventure of sticking our neck out for God. We don't have to be great and articulate in every single justice matter and advocacy matter to make a difference. But we start somewhere, and from that place of starting somewhere, and from that place of choosing to build kingdom and not castles, we will start to see our confidence grow, we'll start to see our circumstances change, we'll start to see more of Christ grow in us. And as that continues to galvanise and as that continues to grow, that builds in us more of a confidence to actually want to stick out our neck and extend our reach for ourselves so we can know more of Jesus, and extend our reach to others so more can know the love of Jesus as well. So Father's home today, I ask you this question, just as much as I ask myself as well. Where are we sticking our neck out? Where are the spaces and places that God is calling us to make a difference, but maybe fear or pride or a lack of courage is stopping us from sticking our neck out? Maybe we've got an experience right within ourselves that internally is stopping us from meeting Jesus the way that he would want us to. Maybe just like how that woman who I'm sure at some point in her life feared that Jesus would ever welcome and accept her, once she got over that, she found herself so graced by the love of God. Are there personal situations that you're holding on to at the moment in time that you don't want to stick your neck out for because you fear how Jesus would welcome you? If that's you today, please know you are loved and graced and welcomed with bucket loads of mercy by Jesus. And whatever your circumstance, whatever your struggle, whether it be past or present, Jesus loves you. Can I encourage you to honestly come before your Maker and know that actually as you extend your reach to Jesus, that you will be loved, you will be forgiven, you will be graced. And then for those of us that do know that already, but know that actually more effort and more courage needs to be applied in terms of extending our reach for others and being people that have that kingdom mentality, not that castle mentality. Where is it that we felt that nudge? Where is it that we've known God's asked us to step out in a certain area? Maybe it's even just nailing our colours to the mast and actually saying that we're in support of this cause or that cause. Maybe it's giving to a charitable cause. Maybe it's spending more time offering more of an opportunity and volunteering, whether that be in church or out. Where are we called to stick our neck out on behalf of the others, just like Jesus did, but just like all these men and women that we listed earlier? So Father's Home, I wish I could have been with you today, but I do feel that this is a message that is challenging for every single one of us. Let's be God's people. Let's be God's men and women. Let's be God's children that extend our reach to him and extend our reach to others. Let's love everybody always the way that Jesus did. And even in the tremendously awkward moments to come, let us not be a people that wind our neck in. Let us not be a people that bury our head under the sand, but let us be a welcoming people. And just as our namesake says, be the Father's home, which welcome all of God's beloved and say there's a place for you here. And so God, help us in this. God, challenge us in this. God, give us faith. God, give us perseverance, and God, give us courage as we go to extend our reach on behalf of ourselves and on behalf of others. Bless you, Father's Home. Have a great rest of the day.